Guys, welcome back to 2021. The Brains Trust are back for a second year. The boys have made it back. Excited to be back on board for 2021. Big year ahead with club footy in the south. Competition shaping up to be outstanding, fair to say. So we look forward to bringing you guys all the updates, all the news, all the banter, all the talking shit, all the terrible tipping. So going to be a great year. Myself, Jeremy and Brycey with guests. So first up, today we thought we'd start off with a bit of a one-on-one. This guy, fair to say, he's had a bit of a huge roller coaster ride when it comes to his footy career, and he's not even halfway through it. Our guest today is no other than Stag Flynn Thomas. Flynn's come, I guess, through the system out of Southland Boys High. He reached the dizzy heights of being signed by the Highlanders during school, as well as the Stags. He made the New Zealand under-20s. Reached the heights, but also reached the lows, having multiple shoulder injuries, multiple surgeries, as well as, riding the highs and lows of being a professional rugby player. It was great to talk to Flynn, and we go pretty deep in terms of, I guess, his rugby career and some pretty honest thoughts around certain topics. So it's, hopefully you guys enjoy the listen. 2021 Brains Trust Season 2 with none other than Flynn Thomas. So enjoy, guys. Make sure you give us a like on Instagram, the Brains Trust Rugby Pod. Enjoy.
Here is the Brains Trust, introduced by the question master, answering any question.
Thought we'd kick things off with a bang. We've found no other than former Southland Boys High Stag, former Stags captain, I might add, current player, Flynn Thomas. Flynn, how you going, mate?
No, very good. Thank you, Scott. It's good on this Sunday morning, mate. Was hoping to get outside and enjoy the sunshine, but typical Southland, she's absolutely pouring down. But no, I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
Nice, mate. It's got that winter rugby feel, doesn't it, today? I know it's been pretty good weather lately, but a bit of cloud, bit of rain outside. Must be footy season.
Yeah, no, it's slowly creeping upon us. Into March already, starting to get closer to the footy season. But we're sort of hoping to get a bit more sunshine. I suppose that's just Southland, isn't it?
It's just for people who may be unaware of what you're up to at the moment, mate. Just give us a quick brief of what's going on in the world of Flynn Thomas at the moment for people who might want to know.
So I'm currently back in Invercargill, sort of been bouncing between Invercargill and Dunedin over the last couple of years, doing a bit of study at university, but based full-time down here, just starting my last year of my degree and just been chipping away at that, and then getting back into training with the high performance group down at Rugby Southland and back down at Miller Street as well, which would be good. Just pretty much just studying and training's my life at the moment.
Very good. No, good stuff, mate. Right, we'll crank straight into it. Thought we'd get you on. You've had a pretty interesting rugby journey, fair to say, and obviously you're only probably in the first few years of it, and it's been a hell of a ride, I guess. I'm sure you'll tell us a bit about it. But firstly, just give us a bit of a rundown. When did you start playing footy, and how did that all start for you?
So I started playing rugby when I was about 4 years old. Just like any other New Zealand boy growing up, that was just what you did, really. People probably don't really know this, but I was actually born in the North Island. Lived there till I was about 8 years old, and my dad was my first coach. So I used to go down and play touch with my brother on a Saturday. Used to roar around in bare feet, and then it was a bit of a family affair. My sister used to run around alongside my dad when she was about 2 or 3 years old, and then just progressed, just kept playing rugby, and then moved down here, and then started playing for YL Star out at Tuatapere, and then that was pretty much just footy. It was just every Saturday used to get out there and run around, and just try to, I suppose, lap it up. And then it was a bit of a, I suppose, it was every Saturday was pretty much the same. My dad was the club captain or club president down at YL, so you go out and play in the mornings and then stick around all day and watch the seniors play and then jump in the club rooms at night. So nice, every Saturday was pretty much rugby.
Nice. So fair to say you're, I know the old comment gets thrown around, people want local Southland as a team. So So technically, you're not actually a local. People might not have known
No,
that.
no, I don't think they did actually. Yeah, definitely.
Adopted local.
I wasn't. Yeah, adopted local. Wasn't born here, but I've been here for the last 17 or 18 years. Dad's a local. He was born and bred to a Tapbury and got a lot of family down here. So yeah,
I'm sure we'll count you now, mate. We'll count you now. So obviously you are YL star in your younger days. Fast forward to I guess 13, 14. You made the move into town. Was that a bit of a no-brainer coming into Southland Boys High School?
Yeah, so it wasn't actually for sport or anything like that at that stage. It was my brother went into Southland Boys in his last term of year 9, and then I sort of just followed suit. But it was more just for education purposes, really. Probably wasn't going to get the same level of education out at Tapbury that we would have in town. So yeah, made the switch into there, and then spent 5 years at the hostel, and obviously that led into playing first 15 rugby and whatnot.
Yeah, nice. Obviously, at the hostel, renowned for a few games of backyard footy on the grass at the hostel. Would have been plenty of that go on, especially in your first couple of years there as a young year 9 boy.
Yeah, it's almost like a rite of passage, to be honest. When you get in there, hostel rugby it's probably a big part of the foundation of hostel life. Everyone gets out there and throws the ball around. Like we're all country boys that enjoy playing sport, whether that was rugby, touch or cricket. So I used to get out there. I used to get quite heated at times, actually, especially when the older boys come out and try to get one up on you. But no, it was good, actually. Everyone used to get out there and just throw the ball around, and yeah, a lot of heated games actually with your mates, and it's always just took one person to
Who was in the thick of it? Any names? Our 2 or 3 listeners might know.
Mitch Taylor, one of my mates, former Southland Stag. He was always in the thick of it. Probably a bit too much at times. We used to go quite hard at hostel rugby, and then you used to get big Sean Stoddart out there.
Oh, not Big Stoddy.
Big Stoddy. I was year 9 and he was year 11. Used to come out. He never used to go too hard though, but he would put the odd shot in.
Nice one, mate. So obviously that would have primed you pretty well. Yeah, let's fast forward to year 11. How did it come about you being in the first 15 or getting into the first 15? I know they have trials these days. Probably not so much of a trial, more of a wider training group. But talk us through how you sort of got your way or found your way into that Royal Blue team for a starter.
So I was pretty lucky actually coming into the first day set up in year 11. Sam Stewart was the former hooker. He sort of held that spot for the last 2 years while he was at school, so 2012 and 13. Yep. And coming into 2014, there was no hookers, so the spot pretty much opened up, and I was lucky enough to be able to get in there. A bit daunting coming in. I think I was about 82 kgs.
Dripping wet.
At that point. Yeah, dripping wet. So playing in the front row, first 15 grade, a couple of years younger than everyone else. So you sort of get put in your place quite early. But I was pretty lucky. Like I didn't really spend too much time having to fight for a position because there weren't really too many other hookers at school. So
you've walked straight into the number 2 jumper year 11.
Yeah, year 11. I was the youngest in the team, and then just pretty much walked straight into it, which was pretty lucky.
Yeah, fair to say your what's the right word? Your positioning or where you stood in the school would have rose pretty quickly in the popularity stakes.
Yeah, I actually took quite a bit of shit from my mates for it. You sort of walk around school, and everyone sort of gives you a bit of lift every now and then, but no, they're always pretty supportive. It's always fun and games.
Yeah, nice. Is there any memories or any games in particular in that first year that stand out? Obviously, you got the big inter-school against the Otago Boys, Kings, a couple other games.
Yeah, that first inter-school against the Otago Boys was probably the most memorable one. coming out, got to walk out with a banner at the front of the boys, smacked that in the ground, and then we lined up for the haka, did the haka. I mean, I think we crept forward maybe 5 or 6 meters. We all linked up, and then the Otago boys got right in our face. Caden Brox was right in front of me, and then I just remember getting head-butted in the head. And Otago boys have a bit in their haka where they come down like with their fists, a few jabs in the gut, and then a photographer actually took a pretty good photo of me and him nose to nose. But the shit thing is that he was a wee bit shorter than me, so I was looking down at him, and but I had a pretty big double chin, so. Yeah, that photo got plastered all over Facebook.
Was that game at Littlebourne or at Southland Boys first in school?
No, it was at Littlebourne actually. So,
so had to deal with the heat from the Littlebourne end or the end of the ground where they usually sort of congregate.
Yeah. Like you can't really downplay how much heart is within their supporters. Like you get a lot of shit, especially on the sideline, going to throw a line out. You can barely hear the calls, but it was definitely an eye opener. They had a lot of firepower in their team, like Co Tompkinson, Hamor Samasoni, Jonah Owena, and a few others. So I remember going into clean a ruck, and Co Tompkinson, just came out, smoked me straight in the head, jumped on top of me, and just looked at me on the ground and said, "This is first 15 footy."
All right, set the tone.
Yeah.
Nice, mate. So we'll fast forward 2 years down the track. So you've just come in as a year 11. Fast forward to year 13, and fair to say you're running the team by that stage, and fair to say that sort of wee era, pretty good couple of years for Southland Boys High.
Yeah, so Scouty sort of came into the picture at that point, and so did David Hall. So they were pretty much running the team at that point, and at the start of the season sort of got together, and I'd never been coached by Scouty full time, sort of had him with the academy, and just the level of, I suppose, respect he had for us and how much he cared just sort of showed from the get-go. And you could sort of tell from the start that things are going to be different this year. I had a couple boys come along, so Ethan de Groot came to town, and so did Ben Paulin, so it was good to sort of get a few recruits. And then, at that point, there's a lot of us became like pretty good friends. So a lot of our mates sort of entered the scene for the first couple of years. It sort of was just myself, Jay Renton, Mitch Taylor, Logan Jones, a few of us boys, and then near the end of year 13, sort of got quite a few of our mates in there, which was quite good. And then Caleb Talamahina was sort of starting to step up as well, and he was playing really good footy. So it
wasn't bad.
No, his try against the Otago boys, that went viral. Did no good for him with his head, but no, it was an awesome team to play in.
Yeah. Talk me through. So you boys obviously got all the way to top 4, 2 years in a row. Correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 years in a row. Talk me through. I do remember watching you guys play Mount Albert Grammar. Maybe this might have been, was this your sixth form or seventh form year? You guys played Mount Albert.
So we played. We made top 4 in my last year of school, and then they went on to go back up again the year after I left. We played Mount Albert Grammar. Came out in the semi-final up in Palmerston North, and just standing beside them, running out onto the field, you could just tell that they were a very, very well built team. We were just a bunch of battlers, really, just struggling to string a strong starting 15, but they just had plenty of depth across the field. A lot of big names in there as well. Caleb Clark was playing centre.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the one thing that sticks in my mind, I remember watching that game on Sky, and they had a scrum 5 metres out. Now, it was either the halfback, or was it Caleb Clark, or the halfback went to number 8, or halfback?
No, it was the halfback went to number 8.
Yes.
And then Isaiah Papali put the ball into the scrum. He used to play for the Warriors. I think he's now at Parramatta. He put the ball into the scrum, and then it was a bit of an 8-9 play, and he just went straight in, untouched pretty much.
Fair to say you're not stopping that bunch of small white boys. You're not stopping that, are you?
No, straight down 10 channel. Bit of a we'll call it a misread, but yeah, it was almost undefendable, I suppose you'd say.
Yeah, no, that does stick in the mind, to be fair. But yeah, hell of an achievement for the boys to get to top four. It'll obviously been, I think, 2003, I think, from memory, when Big Whopper was running the show, that the lads had last got to the big show of New Zealand secondary school rugby. Let's move just into that sort of end of that year. So you're just sort of in the, I guess, come to the end of your Royal Blue season. For those who have followed you and right into their footy in this part of the world, they would have known that you were sort of scouted pretty early on from both the Stags and the Highlanders. You want to talk us through, I guess, that last I guess year of your schooling, and how that sort of happened, all sort of took place with the Stags and the Highlanders?
Yeah, so that happened all pretty quickly. It was after the inter-school against the Otago Boys. I was at the hostel just having lunch, and Matt Saunders, who was running the academy at the time, he pulled up and just asked me to come outside, and went and had a yarn to him. He said, "Oh mate, I've got some good news. The Highlanders want to sign you." And this was in about May, and I didn't really know what was going on. He said,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'll have some more information in a couple of weeks." But yeah, they seem pretty keen.
So what
And
was the first when he said that to you? What was the first thing that's run through your mind? Like, were you freaking out or just rush of excitement? How'd you feel?
yeah, it was a combination of both, I think. Bit of excitement and nerves. I suppose I'd always wanted to reach that point of playing rugby, but yeah, coming along that early, it was almost seemed
Bit of a
like
shock.
a shock, and it seemed a bit surreal. And then I didn't tell anyone about it for like 4 months. I just sort of kept it pretty quiet, just kept it within the family, and yeah, met with my agent, and then put a contract down in front of me and said, "Oh mate, they want to sign you for 3 years." And because they were so keen, Southland chucked a 3-year contract in front of me as well. So I was pretty set up leaving school, probably
Yeah.
in a position that not a lot of people found themselves.
Particularly in this
Yeah,
part of the world, to be fair, isn't it? Like, you hear about
yeah,
those guys, and particularly in Auckland, the northern North Island, hotspot of I guess talent that comes out of first 15. But for a young buck who's come from the Tuatapere domain into the Southland Boys Hostel, it's probably not something in this past decade that we've really seen, has it? Did anyone from the Highlanders ring you at all? Like, who was the coach at that time? Was it Tony Brown?
yeah. It's Jamie Joseph and Tony
Oh,
Brown, but no one really got in contact with me. What I did get told from my agent was that Jamie Joseph was watching that inter school against the Otago Boys, and then he just said that he went back to the Highlanders, and then must have put in a pretty good word, and then all of a sudden, yeah, there's a contract there. So
just like that, eh?
yeah, yeah, apparently,
Must have
mate.
been must have been a hell of a game, mate. I didn't see that game, but geez, you must have been on fire.
I think it was just more the fact that I wasn't really. I didn't at that point in time, like, a contract hadn't even crossed my mind. I was just focused on just
Yeah.
beating the Otago Boys. It'd been a long time since we'd beaten them. I've played them 7 or 8 times throughout my school. I'd never beat them, and then managed to take it in my last inter school.
Yeah.
But moving forward from there, obviously had that contract and kept it pretty quiet, and then I ended up finishing my last exam at school, and then went up and did the Highlanders pre-season with them. So pretty much got thrown straight in the deep end.
So a schoolboy running in straight in with the Super Boys.
Yeah, so it was definitely a shock. Like, I wasn't prepared for it at all. Just the intensity of the trainings. I
Yeah.
suppose, I'd never spent any time in a professional environment. I'd spent a bit of time in the New Zealand school setup, but never with grown men who do this for a living. Yeah.
In hindsight, that was probably what 4 or 5 years ago now. Do you think that was, do you think you benefited from that looking back at it now, or do you think maybe you were chucked in the deep pool too early in terms of going. Like you're saying, you've pretty much missed the club stage, missed the stag stage, and you've gone straight in from first 15 rugby to a Super Rugby environment, and you're still at school technically.
Yeah, so I think in terms of that, it was a sink or swim situation.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so you get thrown up in there, you're straight into a preseason. But I suppose I was pretty naive to how big that was at the time. I didn't quite understand the effect of what I was actually doing. They sort of sheltered me from a few things. Like I didn't really go out and get straight into heavy contact. And leading up to that, because I knew I was going to go to the preseason, I'd thrown about 7 or 8 kgs on straight after school. As soon as I finished playing. Yeah, so I got thrown straight into the gym. First time really taking supplements and stuff like that, jumping on the scales, and yeah, all of a sudden it's just ticking up. I think I was putting on about a kg a week.
Jeez.
But yeah, so getting in there, I think I kind of knew that it was you had to front up, otherwise, yeah, they're not really going to think that you're up to it. So I wasn't too concerned about it at the time. Looking back on it, if I was in that team and a young schoolboy came in, I would be thinking, "Well, what on earth is going on here?" Yeah. But I just did my best to not drag the chain. Really, every time I was out on the field training, I just took it as an opportunity to try and prove myself. And I think that did a lot for me, especially with the coaches. Brownie came up to me after a few times and just said, "Oh, no, good work out there, mate." Especially in the conditioning games, obviously. Sort of prided myself on my fitness because I definitely wasn't the biggest guy. So just trying to keep working the whole time, like bit of a scouting mentality. Like you don't stop moving.
That's it. Nice, mate. So we'll move forward to 2017. So you obviously jumped on the green and black machine. Just quickly. Obviously, I'm sure you would have had most premier clubs in Southland after your registration. How come you jumped on at Marist, mate?
I suppose that's a surprising thing. Well, not surprising. I never expected any clubs to be coming after me, but Marist was the only one that approached me. In all honesty,
jeez, you wouldn't believe it.
The Marist recruitment team, mate. They're probably streaks ahead of other people. I just got a call from, I think it might have been you actually that hit me up, and it was me and Mitch Taylor.
Must have been Marty, was it? Must have been Marty.
Yeah, it was me and Mitch Taylor went down there for a chat. He was sort of undecided on what he was doing after school, and then just met with obviously Regan Fahey and Marty was down there as well. Just had a chat to him. Marty coached me for a couple of years at Southland Boys, and they just said, "Look, we're not really going to offer you any money or anything, but if you need a job, we can sort you out." But at that point, I was just going to go and study at SIT. And then there wasn't a hooker there at the time. Previous one, and obviously he'd moved on. And then I just said, "Oh, look, I'm not really after money. Like, I sort of know that if you're there to take a check from a club, you're probably there for the wrong reasons." And then just jumped on board the green and black train.
Yeah, probably not a bad year to jump on. To be fair, you've let's fast forward to July 2017. You're lining up first year out of school in the Galbraith Shield final. How was that for you personally? I guess as an adjustment from you've played, the heights of New Zealand secondary schools into school against Target boys to first year club rugby, you've got all the way to the Galbraith Shield, especially for a club that hadn't been in the final for a long time, let alone won it. So how was that that final in particular?
I suppose for me growing up, I didn't really understand what the Galbraith Shield was until I got into town, and then from that point onwards, I sort of only really had loose knowledge around what it sort of meant to clubs. And then I didn't quite understand the full effect of how special that is for especially Marist until we won it. Lining up, I just sort of treated it as any other game. And then it wasn't until that final whistle blew and then all the supporters came running on, and just to see the look on everyone's faces, that sort of cemented it for me. It's probably something that I won't ever forget. And probably one of the best Sundays of my life.
Yeah. We won't go too much into the Sunday, but fair to say be one of the great Sundays.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a very good day.
Nice, mate. Obviously from the Stags 2017, you were named in the Stags Mitre 10 Cup squad for the 2017 season. Talk us through that. That was a bit of a different, I guess, pre-season, which included a bit of a trip to Japan. So you've had a pretty whirlwind sort of first year out of school, fair to say. You've won the Galbraith Shield, then you're hopping on a plane to Japan for a pre-season hit. Talk us through that.
Yeah, I suppose the trajectory of my career just took off. Like, these are all things that I never thought would have happened my first year out of school. Like, I was 19 years old, jumping on a plane and going over to Kumagai, Japan, and that was probably one of the best trips of my life. Over there, getting to experience new culture. Just a different way of life, really.
Anything stick out on that trip in particular? Obviously, there was a rugby game, but obviously there was a lot more than just a rugby game. Anything stick out in particular on that trip?
Yeah, I think, well, as you know, we got pretty well looked after, put up in a very nice hotel, and then got taken out to a lot of nice restaurants, and pretty much just got treated like royalty over there. What stuck out to me the most was the level of hype around rugby that is in Japan. Like, I didn't quite understand how much they love the sport, really. I remember me and Ben Fotheringham coming out of I think it was a pre-match meal, and there were about 8 people lined up there with our photos, just of a few of us off Facebook, Google Images, playing first team rugby, and they just wanted us to sign everything.
And the hotel lobby.
And in the hotel lobby, it was something that I've never experienced, and I probably don't know if I ever will again. But that was quite cool. And
that was good stuff. And obviously the boys, from what I do remember on that trip, enjoyed themselves a wee bit too. They ventured out into some of the suburbs in both Kumagai and Tokyo. Bit of a good look. Had a good look around.
No, we had a very good look around. I suppose.
Few beers.
A few beers. That was quite nice. Probably not. It's probably not accepted to be having that many couple of days out from a pretty big game. But
that's a great yarn, to be fair.
Yeah, that is a very good yarn.
Were you with our wee group when we went out for those beers in the afternoon? And the management have turned up at the same pub. Were you there?
Yeah, no, I was there. I was tucked away in the corner though. I was trying to hide myself.
So what's happened is the boys have gone out exploring and turned up at a pub. Asked for a quiet beer, a pint, which has turned out to be about 3 or 4 times the size of what you call your normal pint in New Zealand, and the boys have hoed in, to be fair, probably 8 to 10 of us, and 2 or 3 of those pints down, the boys are starting to feel it a bit. Next thing, here walks in the GM and some of the management into the pub. What was your reaction, Flynn, when that happened, mate?
Oh, I sort of have a tail between my legs, mate, just to be honest.
You're out of there.
Oh, no, I just sort of stood behind everyone. Kept my head down. First year in the team, you don't really want to be pushing the boundaries too much, but you're in there with a few veterans, so you sort of know you're in safe hands. But I think it was just the fact that Mikey McKee, who had gone up to the bar and used his Google Translator to try and sort us out some beers, and they brought us out the biggest ones. And you throw in the fact that it's about 35 degrees outside with 100% humidity.
Yeah, and the boys have just shown up.
Yeah. So it didn't take too many beers to feel it, but that was a good yarn. Yeah,
it was good stuff. Well, fast forward to that Mitre 10 Cup. I guess in terms of the results, it was a pretty tough season, to be fair. 0-10, I guess, and it was probably the start of the started the infamous losing streak. Not much positive to say about that. I guess from your point of view, you've gone from, a pretty successful stint at Southland Boys High. You've just won the Galbraith Shield, and then all of a sudden you've come into a team where, fair to say, things are going pretty poorly on and off the field. How did you find that transition?
Yeah, I suppose that was a very tough year. Coming in, like the Stags had obviously not had a overly successful season the year prior to that, and then we're sort of hoping to build upon a foundation to move forward, but it didn't quite work out as planned. I think the hardest thing was going 0-10, and then just seeing the fragments that started to emerge within the team. A few off-field issues starting to spring up amongst a few of the boys, and then you can sort of see how much winning means to a team, and then some people react to that in different ways. But for me personally, like I was sitting on the bench behind Scratcher, obviously. Scratcher was the captain at that point, so I was lucky to get 10, 15 minutes at the end of the game. But it was for me personally, like I knew coming on with that amount of time, like my efforts aren't really going to change the game. So I just sort of started to base my reflection on the season on how I played, and I was pretty happy for my debut, debut year. Coming out, I just focused on just getting that ball in and the line out, and just not missing any tackles. So
now it was an interesting year, season for you personally, I guess, on a couple of fronts. For someone who's not yourself looking at it, number one, fair to say, like obviously the under-19 Jock Hobbs tournament was a pretty big tournament. Now I understand you didn't play in that, did you?
No, I didn't.
No, so there was obviously a bit of a, discussion around you were the number 2 hooker in the team. Would you have liked to have gone to that Jock Hobbs under-19 play at that? Obviously, Mitre 10 Cup is the pinnacle of provincial rugby, but, looking back at it, do you sort of reflect and think, it would have been great to have played in that Jock Hobbs tournament as well as, being the Stags?
Yeah, in hindsight, I definitely should have gone to that. That was probably the last opportunity that I would have had to play with a lot of my mates that were in the team. Some of those guys are in different parts of New Zealand at the moment, or have given up, and that was the last chance to be able to run out with them again. I suppose being in that situation with the Stags, we only carried 2 hookers that year, and Juan McDonald was the coach at the time, and he sort of approached me and just said, "Oh, well, what do you want to do?" And I just said, "Oh, look, mate, you're the coach. You just tell me." And he said, "Right, you'll stay with us." I think that was more just to make life easier for him, not having to get someone else in and run through everything. But in hindsight, I definitely should have gone to that. And they got bloody close in the final. They almost took it out. I think there's only a few points in it.
Big Leo Tossi and Mitch running amok, wasn't it, in that final from memory?
Yeah, and I think it was there's only a few points in it, and I remember watching it on TV and just there's probably a bit of regret in there, not being able to be up there and play with the boys.
Yeah, we live and learn, don't we? Second thing I wanted to pick your brain, mate, was Bay of Plenty, Rotorua. You're on the bench. Fair to say the boys got absolutely towed, 57-0 from memory. But you obviously came on in that game. A couple of other players went off or injured. All of a sudden, you're given the skipper's armband. 19 years old. Team's getting fair to say annihilated, and you're handed the skipper's armband. Do you want to talk us through how that happened, and I guess your initial reaction and thoughts to that, how that came up? Because that's pretty out of the box. 19-year-old out of school, and you've been thrown the skipper's armband in a game like that.
Yeah, so middle of storm week, Rotorua, shit night, sitting on the bench. Elliot Dixon gets 2 yellow cards, so he's sent off. I go on. Yeah, I think he might have still been on at the point when I went on, but Scratcher went off, and then I think you got subbed as well. So you were acting, standing in as skipper at that point. And then Carl McDonald, the physio, runs on, and just looks at us in the huddle, says, Flynn, Hoden wants you to be skip. And I looked at him and I said, you've got to be joking. He said, no, mate, you're up. And I remember looking around the huddle, and all the boys are like, what on earth is happening here? Yeah. Liam Howley after that game, he really let me know about it. But yeah, that was
not your fault, mate. You've been told you've been handed the reins, and boys are in all sorts.
Yeah, we only had, I think, would have been about 12 minutes to go in the game. But yeah, all of a sudden I'm talking to the ref. It's only my 6th game of Mitre 10 Cup. I would have played all up about 60 minutes of rugby. Yeah. And you'd be thrown in the deep end. But
did that have a mental effect on you? Like, obviously, it was like you said, the game was over and it was only 12 minutes. But like you being told in that situation, you're going to be the skipper, and the I guess the young position you were in. Did that have an effect on you? I guess positive or negative? In the weeks or period after that.
Yeah, I think it was more negative than positive. I just sort of felt like that I always had a sense of betrayal amongst the older boys. They sort of looked at me like it was my fault. But
why the fuck are you the captain?
Yeah, pretty much, mate.
You've paid the coaches off, mate.
And then everyone started calling me Skip, just taking the piss out of me.
Phil Halder was at the front of that queue, wasn't he?
Yeah, Phil Halder definitely led the charge on that.
He was jealous, mate. He was jealous. He wanted to be captain.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, the impact of that was it was more negative than positive. Yeah. It was just being put in that. Like, I should never have been put in that position. And then
100%.
Like, obviously, I didn't have to deal with too much because we were getting absolute hiding. But yeah, it was just more the fact that the boys were just It just sort of thought that it was my fault. But yeah, I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough, boy. We'll fast forward to, I guess, 2018. You would have done another preseason, your second preseason with the Highlanders, and then moved into, I guess, exciting year with the New Zealand under-20s. Talk us through that. How that went for you and the process of that.
Yeah, so the trial period for the New Zealand under-20s, which is quite grueling, takes place over about 4 months. There's multiple camps that you go to, and then you're sort of kept in the dark as to whether or not you're going to make the team. And then made the Oceania squad, went over to the Gold Coast and played 3 games there, and probably didn't play my best rugby. Sort of put a lot of pressure on myself to try and play good instead of just going out there and playing. And then coming back from that, I was sort of knew that I was actually quite lucky at that point. There's only 2 hookers that they took. There's myself and Ricky Jackson, who plays for Otago and the Highlanders. And there was supposed to be Bradley Slater, who plays for Taranaki and the Chiefs. He was supposed to come as well, but he'd injured his back quite seriously and wasn't able to play rugby at all that year. So it was just myself and Ricky that went over, and then he played a lot better than I did, and ended up being the starting hooker in the final game against Aussie, which is the one that you want to be starting in. And then coming up from that, I didn't really know what was going on with Bradley, whether or not he was going to be coming away to the World Cup. But then got the call that I've been in, but I think if there were 3 of us hookers there, they were only taking 2 to the World Cup, then I definitely wouldn't have been on that plane, I don't think.
You got there, mate. You got there. That's the main thing.
Pretty disappointed with that campaign, but then, a few weeks down the track, met up in the Mount up north, and then had a wee training camp, and then flew over to the south of France. Big trip to get there. I think we left. It was a 17-hour flight to Dubai, and then another 8 hours to Barcelona, and then a 4-hour bus trip up to Perpignan, where we were based. Yeah, no, it was a very, very long couple of days of travel. Probably minimal sleep on the plane. Yeah, everyone sort
Boys
of
would have
tweaked
just been
up.
sleeping on that bus trip, were they? Out to it.
They actually encouraged us not to sleep because we got there at about
Oh, yeah.
2 in the afternoon. So they said, "Righto, boys, no sleeping. Otherwise, you're just going to ruin your sleeping habits for the following week,
Yeah.
pretty much." And I think we had a day or two of just sort of getting used to being there, and then we're straight into preparing for the first game against Japan.
Yeah, nice, mate. So we'll fast forward through that tournament. So you guys, I think, got to the semi-finals. Is that right? Semi-finals just went down.
Yeah. So
How did you find the tournament overall? Like you got a bit of game time. You started that semi-final, didn't you?
yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that
And
was. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, yeah, that was probably a very intense campaign. Bit of illness going around the team as well. A bit of a stomach bug that sort of hit a few of the boys. No, it doesn't help. And then you've got 4 days in between games. I think first day's recovery, second day's training, next one's captain's run. Then you're playing a game, and pool play. So not a lot of rest. It's pretty grueling, and bit of travel in between games. So.
Yeah, nice, mate. Nice. And fair to say, your first 2 years out of school, you've gone to Japan, you've gone to France and a bit of Europe. It's that's a bit of a whirlwind. 2 years chucking a Mitre 10 in a pre-season with the Highlanders. You're rolling pretty well. Move forward to 2018 Mitre 10 Cup. You're given the co-captaincy with James Wilson, who's come back on board for the Staggies that year. Was that, obviously we talked about your East stint of captaincy the year before. Was that something that you sort of felt that got forced on you, or was that something you felt that you were at the time you were ready and you wanted that challenge of captaining as well as your playing duties?
Nah, so when that came around, mate, that was another sort of what the fuck's going on situation. We just won the second Galbraith Shield with Marist.
Yeah, another Sunday.
Another Sunday. So come into first day of Stags camp on the Monday. Dave Hewitt comes up to me, and I was fair to say was not in good health at that point. Early in the morning, and he just want to have a wee chat. Just said to me, "I want you to be co-captain." And my first response was, "Nah, mate. I'm far too young for that. This is my second year in the team. I only started 2 games at that point. I played the little Mitre 10 Cup, and I said, no, I'm not prepared for that. I know that there's a pecking order in the team. Like there's steps to this process, and you're chucking me from the bottom straight to the top." And yeah, he sort of just sprung it on me and said, "Well, if it's not you, then who else can we get?" And I just said, "Well, mate, it's not really my decision to make." And then he said, "Well, I think you should sleep on this. Go away and talk to the people that you need to, and then we'll have a chat about it tomorrow."
Yeah.
So I remember going out to my car. First person I rang was my brother, and he just said, "No, mate, don't do it. There's absolutely no way that you can do that. You know yourself that you're way too young." And then I said, "Yep, sweet." Rang both my parents. Dad said no. Mum said no. And then
no.
Yeah, it was red flags are everywhere, mate. And then I rang Peter Scout, and Scouty said that he'd sort of had this situation before with a young whopper. He got the captaincy sprung on him when he was 21, I think. He just said to me, "Look, mate, like this is a good opportunity. I think that you're up for it, and if you don't do it now, then you might regret it." And then those words sort of stuck with me a wee bit, and I thought, oh well, I've got a lot of respect for Scouty, and I thought, well, if he backs it, then why not? And I went back to Dave and just said, "Look, mate, like I'll be keen to do it, but as long as everyone in the team's on board, like all the senior boys." And he said, no, they're all on board. Like you'll be doing it with James Wilson. So you two will just share the role. You'll sort of look after the forwards, he'll look after the backs, and then he'll talk to the ref and everything. I said, yeah, sweet as. And then, yeah, it's fair to say that it all sort of went downhill from there.
Yeah. So you've played. How many games did you play before you got your injury? It was a few.
6 games.
Oh yeah. So you got about halfway through the season. So
Yeah.
like in terms of your playing, like obviously it's hard at the time to reflect on it, but looking back now, do you think having that burden of the captaincy, did that weigh on you being able to just go out there and with the freedom now and just play and do your role? Do you think that impacted you a bit?
Yeah, in hindsight, it definitely did. While I was in the moment, I sort of didn't think about it too much.
Yeah.
I sort of
Yeah.
just got on with it. I had a wee bit of experience leading the team, but that was only at first 15 level. So
Yeah.
sort of my mentality was just to play first and lead second. But then you throw into the mix a bit of a busted up shoulder. I'd had injury issues with that right from the preseason game against Northland that we played, and it was sort of bugging me for a while. So I was struggling to put a good performance out on the field, and then you
Yeah.
throw in the captaincy on top. Plus, you're losing every game. Like we went 0 from 10 again that season, and then
Owen.
yeah, Owen, and then having the responsibility to go out there and face the media after the games and try to give an explanation on
Yeah.
why we aren't winning, and then you put all that into it, and then it definitely did weigh on me at the time.
Yeah, and you're obviously someone who thinks about things deeply, and you get out there and do it. But you do, fair to say, you're a bit of a thinker. So that I'm guessing, mentally, that would have taken a bit of a toll. Talk us through the injury. So you've done your shoulder. How did you like? What was your initial reaction to that? I guess you've had this pretty great run, to be fair. You've signed for the Highlanders. You've Mitre 10 straight out of school. You've played New Zealand under 20s. Second year Mitre 10, then you go down with a shoulder injury. Where's your sort of head at after that, or that period after that?
Yeah, so I'd sort of been carrying that the whole season, and I didn't quite understand what it was at the time.
Yeah.
I'd never been injured, and I didn't even think that I was going to be one of those guys that would be plagued by injury. And then I remember going and getting a scan for it, and first of all, I got a cortisone injection into my shoulder. They just thought that I'd had severe inflammation through my bursa. So I got a cortisone injection that sort of looked after it for a wee bit, but then the issues just kept piling up. Got a scan for it, and then went up and met with the surgeon, and he just said, "Look, mate, you've got a tear in your labrum," and what that meant was that I was partially dislocating my shoulder occasionally on the field, and he said, if you keep playing, then you're at a high risk of fully dislocating it. So that was my season done, and I'd never faced an injury like that before, especially a season-ending one.
Yeah.
So it definitely took its toll, and because I'd come straight out of school and just been on this very fast track journey through rugby, I'd had a lot on my plate. I think, the most rest I'd had was about 2 weeks in between pre-seasons and seasons, so it was sort of non-stop.
Yeah. So in some ways, it might have been a bit of a positive in terms of, just gave you the ability to, the surgery, but then you had to, I guess got to sit back and sort of take a breath.
Yeah. So it gave me a chance to sort of just recharge the batteries, connect with some friends and family. Went back out home and just spent a lot of time with mum and dad, and it just gave me a chance to sort of reset. But I suppose the downside to that was because I'd never been injured before, I really underestimated how hard it was to come back from that. I treated the period as a bit of a recharge, but I didn't really understand the full effect that was having on my body in negative ways in terms of maintenance with fitness, skin folds, strength. So coming back from that first injury was definitely that was a very, very long and grueling grind. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2019, we'll go to 2019. So your third year out of school, bit of an interesting year. You're obviously recovering from that surgery. You've gone up to Dunedin for that first part of that year. Talk us through that bit of training with the Landers, and I guess trying to get that shoulder right.
Yeah, so I was pretty lucky that when I got injured, I was still studying at the time. I've been started a degree through Massey University, and then I was able to go up to Otago and cross credit papers back to Massey. So I
Right.
sort of treated it as, when I signed with the Highlanders, I had to stay in Invercargill, and the original plan was to go up to Dunedin, go to uni, play club rugby up there, and then see what happens. And that was always a big goal of mine, but a bit of a dream, I suppose you'd say, was to get up there and experience the student lifestyle.
The Scarfy life.
Yeah, the Scarfy life. So my brother had been up there for 3 years, and he was always telling me to come up and get amongst it. So finally got the opportunity to. The Highlanders were pretty good. They let me use their gym, and their assistant trainer, Ian Blake, who's a very, very great man. He looked after me for the first semester, and he was pretty much he was my personal trainer for like 4 months.
So you're pretty much getting a one-on-one PT for that, first half of 2019. Bit of study and a one-on-one PT every day.
Yes, yeah. So my timetable was pretty relentless. Monday to Friday, I was doing 2 gym sessions a day. In the morning, weights in the morning, weights at night, and then conditioning on top of that. And then so I pretty much go down to the high performance gym in Dunedin at 7 o'clock in the morning, do a gym session, have breakfast down there, walk up to uni, I think Union Street, walk up there to lectures, go to lectures all day, sit in the library till about 4 o'clock, walk back down to the gym, do another gym session there, and then some conditioning, get out of there about 6:30 at night, go home, have a shower, and then pretty much just do it all again. So I did that for about 4 or 5 months, and then sort of got given an ultimatum by the Highlanders because my skin folds are pretty high. I was pretty unconditioned. They just said to me, look, mate, if you're going to take the piss with this and just go out there and have a fun time in the student life, then we're not really going to waste our time on you.
Yeah. Was that a bit of a reality check? Like, you probably, I guess you went up there, like you said, you went up there, experienced a bit of the student life. You were still training, but, did that give you a bit of a, I guess, ultimatum? Hey, I need to either, stick to this path or leave it?
Yeah, no, it definitely was a reality check. At that point, I was still trying to get a super contract with the Highlanders. I was sort of trying. I'd already had one on paper, but it was just trying to get one with them and cement a spot. So they said to me, "Look, you need to get bigger and stronger." So they laid a bit of a plan out before me, and that obviously didn't involve drinking. I had to get my skin folds down and then weight up. So over that period, I think I put on 9 kgs and lost about 25 mils of skinnies. So definitely got worked quite hard. But it was a reality check. I probably came off one of the best summers of my life, just sort of hanging out with my mates all the time. Got to go to a few festivals and stuff. But when I had that meeting with them in Dunedin, it was definitely a wake up call as to what it actually takes to if you want to play high performance sport.
Yeah, mate. So let's go to Mitre 10 Cup 2019. Just quickly touch on that. So you've been named co-captain again with Scratcher. Obviously, both sharing the hooker role, and obviously Tatey, GPT. He's come on board as well. So you get the first 2 starts. Was that right? You started the first 2 games.
Yeah. Started the first 2.
Started the Northern game, started the Tiger game, and that was the Shield game, wasn't it? So you started that game, and the shoulder's gone out again.
Yeah, so left shoulder this time against Northland, sort of. I think it's the 50th minute around there. Throw a line out ball in, gets tapped off the top, and the Northland hooker comes through and picks it up and tracking across the tackle him. Get tripped up by the referee and then fall awkwardly into the tackle and hyperextended my arm behind my head pretty much. And then, that just kicked off another labral tear and just tried to play through that. But it just didn't really come off that well.
Yeah, so week 2, you've sort of come off the field against Otago. I guess the end result, another surgery. What are you thinking? Here we go again, or we must have made a pretty tough time for you mentally, especially after all that effort to come back, get yourself to where you were, and then have to go through it all again.
Yeah, so I actually ended up playing till round 6 against Manawatu. Yeah, and then came off that that game with another busted shoulder. Just think the first thought was, well, the first one's unlucky. This one, it's probably even more unlucky. But sort of having gone through it before, I was a bit more equipped to deal with things this time. Put in a plan over the summer with how I was going to deal with it, and just sort of boxed on. Ended up back up in Dunedin studying at uni. Gave me another opportunity to go to varsity and then chip away at a few more papers.
Yeah, nice. So we get to March 2020, pretty much a year ago, and COVID hits. Where did that put you in the scheme of things? I guess you said you were up in Dunedin. Your plan was obviously you were going to play the whole club season up there. Talk us through that sort of period and what sort of happened there.
Yeah, so went back to uni. Got, I think, 3 weeks into the semester. Obviously, COVID hit. When the alert levels got announced, I just my dad rang me and he said, right, you need to grab your sister and head home. So pretty much packed up all my kit and then shot back down to Tuatapere.
Out of there.
And then, straight out of there. And then pretty much just spent 3 months out there studying and training. It sucked. I'd gone to Dunedin to be able to go to lectures and experience the uni lifestyle again. And then I've pretty much gone back to square one, doing lectures online, sitting at a computer at my desk all day.
Yeah. How did you find that COVID period? Like, obviously you said you were looking forward to, you had a plan, like you were going to go to lectures and you're obviously going to play some footy up there or get yourself back to playing some footy. How did you find that period having to be in Tui, I guess pretty isolated for a few months there?
Yeah, I think we were pretty used to it. Like we're the last house at the end of the road, so we're already used to isolation. It just felt like being back at school, really, in the school holidays, but just with less traffic going up and down the road. Like we're still pretty able to get out and roam around. Like had the whole farm to really run around on, and then I was lucky enough. When I was, I think, 15, I ended up buying a squat rack and a few weights and stuff. So I was able to fully train, unlike a lot of boys that were having to do a bit of DIY around the house to rig up some weights. But no, I enjoyed it actually. It sort of gave me a chance to really knuckle down on my studies, and I ended up coming out with the best grades that I've ever had. And then just trying to implement a routine with training, because the plan was to head back up to Dunedin after that, because I'd already sort of committed to the Kaikorai Rugby Club.
Demons footy.
Demons footy. Bryce Morgan, big advocate for them.
One of our Brains Trust members, Brycey, big fan.
Yeah, so I'd sort of committed to them, and I sort of rang Dale and just let him know what was going on. He was happy with it. Quite a few contracted stags at that point were playing out of the province. So that was the plan. So I just tried to get myself in the best possible shape to get back up there. Yeah.
Then we, I guess, we come out of level 3, level 2, and we're able to play some footy again. And, your luck just sort of just couldn't get a run of luck, could you? You're playing for Kaikorai, and your shoulder goes again. You talk us through that, because I guess 3 years in a row, that's pretty bad luck, to be fair. Talk us through that.
Yeah, Matt, that was a real kick in the guts, I suppose you'd say. I don't think many people would be that unlucky to do your shoulder a third time. Well, it was actually the original shoulder, my right one. So just playing in Dunedin against the Dunedin Sharks, and then ended up just tracking across field from a ruck to tackle a first 5, because no one had sort of infilled into the space position. And then the first 5 dropped it off to a winger who came hard down on a line, and I just remember throwing my arm out, and I heard it go before I felt it. It was just the sheer force of him running, just tore it straight out of the socket. And I remember hitting the ground and just feeling just so uncomfortable, and I didn't really know what was going on. Yeah. And then physio runs on. just said to my mate, I think my shoulder's out, because I never dislocated it at this point.
Yeah.
And then he tries to put it back in on the field, wouldn't go in. Get into the changing rooms, he has about 4 cracks at it, couldn't go in. Had to wait for St. John's to show up, and that was probably the hardest point. Was shoulders dislocated with no pain relief. I think it took about 40 minutes for them to get there. Just sitting in the changing room. Yeah, just sitting in the changing room, just staring at the floor, just wondering, like, when's this going to end?
Yeah.
And then they took me down to the hospital, and it was out for 8 hours by the time they got it back in. Yeah, had to put me to sleep to get it back in, and then woke up, and luckily it was back in. But then I was facing another surgery. So
yeah, fair to say that's pretty that's character building sort of stuff. So you obviously were looking forward to a big 2020 in terms of being a part of the Stags. How was that, having to come back and I guess walk around the joint in a sling, and not be able to partake in the action? Fair to say. Yeah,
that was quite tough. I think I was sort of in a pretty dark place at that point. Just didn't really know what was going on with my life. Especially with rugby. I'd been definitely been thrown through the mixer.
You've been on the roller coaster.
I think it was a bit of a defense mechanism that I suppose most people have. I just switched off completely from rugby. Had a yarn to Dale around what I was going to do. I pretty much just moved home, went back out to my parents' place, and then took on a bit of part-time study. So did 2 papers, and then just sort of had minimal contact with the team. Came in probably once or twice a week just to say good day to everyone, but walk around in a sling. Not able to do anything. It was just probably best for me just to get out there and focus on something else.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm just guessing here, but I'm sure you'll be able to answer this. With obviously, you'd been in the team those couple of years or 3 seasons, so hadn't won a game, or won 1 game, counties, which obviously, unfortunately, you didn't get to be a part of that on the field. Did you find it hard, especially the fact that the boys actually, were going not bad last year and especially won 2 of those first 3 games? Did that make it harder, or like you said, you just tuned out?
Yeah, it was hard. I think it's probably me. It's probably my ego kicking into it a wee bit. You sort of start to have a bit of doubts as soon as you're not in the mix. The boys start winning. You start thinking, oh shit, maybe that was because of me. But then you start to realise that there's plenty more factors that come into play to winning a game of rugby, and
absolutely.
you have to sort of have a hard look at yourself and realise that you're bigger than you're not bigger than this team. But it's there's multiple other guys, and I was stoked for the boys though, especially winning that Otago game. Like that was that was awesome.
That's good stuff. So we'll fast forward. That's a great story, mate. And I think there's probably a lot of learnings there for I guess a lot of young fellas, or maybe some older fellas as well, who might be listening to this. Obviously, you've experienced the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. Are there any sort of, I guess, big learnings, I guess 1 or 2 things, or maybe just one big thing you've taken out of, I guess, these past 3 to 4 years, in terms of, I guess, your outlook, not just of footy, but how you approach your life, and how you try not to get consumed by the footy bubble that sometimes us rugby boys get stuck in? Yeah, no,
definitely. The one important thing that I sort of learned from being injured was, there's definitely more to life than rugby. Coming out of school, I
hard to see that sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, so coming out of school, I had this vision of what my life looked like. I had it all mapped out. Thought I was going to be a Super Rugby player my second year out of school, and then obviously that didn't pan out. And then, like you said, when you're in a rugby environment, and it becomes sort of your lifestyle, you get so caught up in just with it
A little
dominating
bit.
with it dominating every aspect of your life. And I sort of didn't really have much involvement with my mates during that period. It's probably coming out of school. You don't really have to ask your old lady if you can go out for a few beers on a Saturday night. Sort of push a few of my mates away, not intentionally, but that's just what happens.
Just from being in that bubble.
That's the price that you have to pay if you want to be an elite sportsman. You sort of have to make sacrifices daily, and sometimes that's not going out for a few beers at night with your mates. But definitely getting injured taught me to appreciate life a lot more, and just know that if rugby isn't what's going to pan out later on down the track, then that's not the end of the world.
Yeah, nice.
And I suppose I was pretty lucky. I was pretty lucky with the fact that my parents, right from the get-go, as soon as I signed that contract, they said, right, this is all good, but you're only one injury away from never playing again. And so they were pretty adamant at the time for me to implement a plan B. Rugby was always plan A, like you put all your effort into that, but just make sure that you have something going on the side. So as soon as I got injured, I was able to focus on something else that was pretty productive, I suppose you'd say, for life outside of rugby.
Yeah. So we'll fast forward to the current day, 2021. You said it right at the start, you're doing a bit of study, you're back in Invercargill, you're on track to get your shoulder right, get back in some club footy. How do you see this year playing out, I guess, in terms of your life balance, footy life balance?
Yeah, so I'm pretty lucky with studying online. There's obviously a lot of negatives to it from my point of view, like not being able to go to classes and having that interaction with other people that are doing the same papers as you. But the good thing about that is that I'm pretty flexible, so I can do it in my own time. So I can balance that with training, and it's just trying to implement a routine. So I've just been cleared to start contact by my surgeon. So went up and saw him on a few days ago. So be able to start cranking back into that.
Yeah. Fair to say, you'll just be looking forward to guard and play some footy without the leadership responsibilities in 2021.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to just being able to get back out there and just play with the boys, really.
Oh, damn, we had you penciled in for captain at Maris, mate. I'm not going to happen.
No, I'll leave those responsibilities to you and young Jeremy Boyle.
Yeah, no, all good, mate. We'll let you go and just play some footy. But no, you'll be you'll be looking forward to getting out there and chucking the ball around and just being able to, I guess, get back into things without those expectations and that weight on your shoulders.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a big part that I'm looking forward to. I suppose switching off from footy all last year, I forgot about how much I actually enjoyed just going to training.
Yeah,
and running around with everyone, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting back out there and just focusing on playing and just not having any expectation on myself or from others. Sort of had a lot of conversations with my dad about returning to play. Obviously, I'm pretty nervous to get back out there. The wee injury thoughts they're lingering still in my mind, but
naturally,
I know that once you cross the line, you're out there to do a job, and those things will just dissipate, which will be good.
Yeah, no, sure you'll be fine, mate. You'll just get out there without the worries of having to lead a team or lead in different areas. I know you do that naturally, but looking forward to seeing you get out there. I guess back at Marist after a couple of years away, you're looking forward to a bit of club footy. Obviously, we've got the the new format, you call it, that was meant to be implemented pre-COVID. 8 teams at the starting line, Midlands and CR now. At this stage, joining the 6 Prem teams for a round, you'll be looking forward to lining up against some of those clubs, especially I know a few of the Midlands boys. You'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, I am actually. I think it's good for Southland Rugby moving forward, giving those teams the opportunity to come up and test themselves against the former 6 Premier sides. So that'll be good actually, and throwing Tiana in the mix as well, which will be good. It'll allow those guys to sort of test, like I just said, just test themselves against each other, and hopefully we get that away Tiana trip, because I'll be pretty keen on a bus trip with the boys.
Yeah, we actually had that 2 years ago, to be fair, 2019, when we ran the 2 pools, and fair to say she was a good bus ride home. So fingers crossed the boys might get a trip at some stage, but we'll cross that bridge when we cross it. But no, I think that'll do us for today, mate. It's great to have you on, mate. A lot of learnings, like I said before, for a lot of young guys. You had a hell of a story, and you're only I guess not even halfway down the track. So all the best with your rehab, mate, and it'll be good to see you back out there for Marist, and then fingers crossed you get through that and onto the Stags, and just get out there and play some footy. So cheers to having you on, mate, and sharing your story. Really appreciate that, and hopefully I'm sure a lot of our 3 or 4 listeners will take a little bit out of that. So thanks a lot, mate, and we'll have to get you on the panel once we get going throughout the season. Get a few tips out there.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Going Horse. No, it's been good, mate. Been an avid listener since day one of the Brains Trust. It was good. Yeah, it's good stuff that you boys do, and I know a lot of people appreciate the updates around club footy. So
yeah. No, cheers, mate.
thanks
We're looking to be back bigger and better in 2021. Make sure you give the Brains Trust Rugby Poll a follow on Instagram. We'll see how we go, if we can get these episodes up on YouTube as well. I know there's a few people love hooking into YouTube, so we'll see if we can get a bit of content up on the gram and on the YouTube, as well as where you listen to your podcast. So cheers, Flynn. We'll be in touch, mate, and look forward to a big year of 2021 Southland Club footy.
Cheers.